Hey guys, today I'm out here trying to get my garden cleaned up a little bit so I can make space for some summer crops. You can see that there's where my red cabbage was. Picked that this morning. I had 6 heads total. Sorry about that. Had 6 heads total, 5 of which were good size, and then one that was a little small size. And well, I thought to myself, I don't really like cabbage that much. Every time I eat it raw, I get these nasty burps, and I don't like the smell of it cooking. It's pretty gross. So I ripped it all, or I cut the 5 heads out, and I took them to church and just gave them away in front of church this morning. And I kept back a little small one. When I got home, I thought, well, I'll look up a recipe and cook it and see what happens. And so I did, and I really, really liked it. So now I'm kind of kicking myself for giving away all the rest of it. I'd have let it sit there for a few more weeks and had cooked cabbage, but I'm sure excited about the one bit that I got. I'm glad I found a recipe I like so I can grow more in the future. But anyway, that's where the cabbage was. Here's the rest of my Swiss chard, a rainbow chard. I was going to pick it a little bit at a time, feed it to our guinea pig, but it would grow back faster than I could feed it to him. He eats a lot, so I'm ripping it all out. But what I wanted to show you guys was the roots on it. And for one, look at the stem this stuff gets on. It's just nuts, the crown that this thing builds. I guess that could be a crown, the way it sprouts back. But look at the roots. They're real knobby looking, white knobby looking. And I was curious if anybody knew if chard is a carbon fixing plant or not. Your standard legumes, your beans, your peas, that sort of stuff, and your clovers, they fix carbon. They take it in from the air and then they fix it in their roots, or fix nitrogen. I'm sorry, take all that back. Nitrogen fixing. See if it's nitrogen fixing. They take nitrogen from the air and they fix it in their roots. So when you cut those sort of crops out, it's actually good to leave the roots in the ground. That nitrogen remains for other plants as it breaks down. But seeing these knobby roots on this just reminded me of how the roots on my green beans looked when I pulled them last year, and I left all the roots in the ground because I knew they were nitrogen fixing. So I pulled these up. I was kind of surprised to see that. So I was just curious if anybody out there knew. Here's a good look of, this is the root stem off of another one. All those little knobs on it. Curious if anybody knew whether or not Swiss chard is nitrogen fixing. I tried doing a quick look for it and I didn't see for sure. But anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm going to pull the rest of this out. I'll throw it over there on my compost bin, and that'll give me from that cabbage there all the way down the length of this bed about it's at least 10 feet. At least 10 feet I'll be able to seed against the trellis here on the back. Across there all the way I'm going to put cucumbers, and then I'm going to put 1 or 2 zucchini plants here on the end, and then maybe a couple of tomato plants further down. I've got a few determinate varieties that shouldn't get as tall, so I shouldn't have to worry about them competing with the cucumbers. And then I've also got this space here that I just pulled out my lettuce. I'm going to put 1 or 2 more tomato plants there. The garlic, I'm just going to let it keep on going as long as it'll go. And I've also got some potatoes over there that are looking pretty crappy. I might actually dig them soon just for some new potatoes and open up all that space. And then my onions, of course. I'll show you my onions. I'm really proud of these. Look at this big guy. Look at that onion. And these were actually an experiment that I seeded these last November. Grew them from seed. It's rare. Most people don't like to do it from seed. They like to do it from the bulbs because it's faster. It does take a long time to do it from seed, but these are by far the best onions I've ever grown. So I'm kind of leaning towards the seed method, or maybe sprouting them from seed and then transplanting them rather than letting them go dormant to a bulb and then come back. I might try that next fall. Might seed them in the winter and just see if I can transplant them live without actually having to make them go dormant and re-sprout. I feel like that break in their growth cycle might mess with them, but I'm sure there's plenty of people that argue. But man, these things are these are incredible. And I had one today actually when I cooked that cabbage. The recipe called for a 1/4 cup of chopped onion too. Look at that one. That is a beefcake there. So I came out here and I pulled a small onion too. That made me happy. I had cooked cabbage and onions fresh out of the garden. And last night with dinner we had fresh peas and carrots, and we had some sweet corn that was left over from last year. So I'm doing a little bit better about eating out of the garden. And there's the tomato plants I just bought. Let's see what varieties I got here. I know I bought, I believe, 2 Better Boys. That's a Better Boy. That's a Lemon Boy, so it's, I guess, a yellow Better Boy, mostly. I've got 2 jalapeno peppers that I bought. And this one here, this is a Phoenix. This is supposed to be a heat-tolerant hybrid, and it's a determinate. So it'll go over in front of the cucumber for sure. And then all these better boys, of course, they're indeterminates. So anyway, mostly I just want to show you guys the thing about the Chard. I'm going to do a little bit more looking and see if I can find out whether or not, in fact, it is nitrogen fixing or not. It'd be interesting to know. I'm going to pull it all for now, but it'd be interesting for future use. I like growing the stuff. It's pretty and it tastes good. And I do have here, too, my asparagus. I'm really excited about this. This is year 1 with it, so I think they were maybe 2-year-old crowns, but I'm going to let it go this year on its own for sure. It looks like each crown only sprouted 1 fern. So I'm going to let them go all year so they can get that energy put in their roots, and hopefully next spring I'll have me some real good asparagus. That's the plan. So anyway, if anybody knows about the nitrogen fixing or not on the roots of the Swiss Chard, I'd sure like to know. Otherwise I'm going to try to figure it out myself, and I'll put a comment below to explain what I found. Oh, last thing is my carrots. I showed you all a little update on my carrot patch the other day. They're getting ever just bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm really excited about these. I come out here and I pick them. You know, every couple days I come out and thin them again, so I get more of those little tiny carrots I was talking about. And lastly, just for my favorite viewers, there's my helper. She's out here helping me as usual. So, okay, I couldn't help but tack this onto the end. This little Swiss Chard, rainbow chard plant, for some reason never did any good. It stayed small like this all its life. I don't think I ever actually picked a leaf off of this one, but look at the roots on it. That's a really good example. I was not expecting this when I pulled it up. Great big roots on the thing. All those nodules on there. But for some reason this one here never did put out a very good leaf. So anyway, just pulled it up and got excited, so I figured I'll tack that on the end there.